What's up? What's up? What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Ping Game James, along with my co-hosts Surfer McFly and Craig So
You?
Poetic, and we here now at the Vibes at the Table podcast. Welcome.
Yes, sir.
I know it's been a minute since y'all heard from us, man. It's been a minute. Know what I
I
mean?
know.
We got some announcements to make. First of all, let us say congratulations to Surfer McFly for his new album that had dropped yesterday. It's called The Grand Rising, and everybody that's on this podcast is on there. Me, so poetic, you know what I mean? It's on SoundCloud and all streaming platforms. You know, so like before we get into this hot topic, first Cypher, congrats on the album, and like let us know like briefly like what made you come up with the title Grand Rising.
So originally, it was supposed to be more of a positivity album.
Mm-hmm.
But as you know, things change. You know, when my father died.
Right. Sorry to hear that.
So I had to change the dynamic a bit. It's kind of like how you rise through adversity.
Mm-hmm.
And just to say that I'm still here. I went through plenty of adversity, but I'm still here. I'm still living. I'm still doing what I need to do. Whether it's, being a leader, being a head, being a husband, getting through life. I'm still here doing what I need to do no matter what. Grand Rising, you can only go up from here. So.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. And, like I said before, man, like we definitely appreciate you like giving us this, these gems on the album, man. You know what I mean? Like it's like definitely, a good album, production wise. I like the songs. I was definitely honored to like do the introduction to the album. You know what I mean? It's like it's introducing the album and you as an artist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, it's like, bro, I definitely thank you for letting me have me on there. So is Craig. You know what I mean? So like once again, on all streaming platforms, go and get The Grand Rising by Surfer McFly. Alright? What else? And then I pushed back the date to my my debut album. You know what I mean? It's just that I don't know, bro, like me as an artist, I definitely,
Take your time.
you know what I mean? Like, exactly. That's the thing. You know what I mean? Like, as an artist, like, I gotta take my time doing stuff. You know what I mean?
Like you can't
like, the
just
words
rush
gotta be
something out
right.
You can't just work. You can't just rush something, bro. Like you gotta take your time. Like
Definitely.
at the end of the day, it's like me. I couldn't rush it. I had to take my time, and whatever project I do next, which I am working on, will have to take the time because you don't want to just put out anything, bro. You want to put out a masterpiece, bro. We artists, we're very critical of our work.
Definitely. As a writer, I'm very critical about what I write because if I write something and to you it could be flawless, but if I feel like I could have said a line a better way or a scheme or wordplay a better way, I'm gonna redo that part. Or I'm gonna redo the whole verse because it has to feel right. I as an artist I have to be satisfied with what I had just wrote. You know what I'm saying? So, but like definitely to let y'all know, this year I'll be coming out with my project. My the work my mind creates. You know what I mean? Look out for that. You know what I mean? But and one other thing before we get into it, briefly, I was watching Wakanda Forever Black Panther 2 last night. You know what I mean? I already saw it when it was in theaters, and I must say, as a Marvel fan, as a Black Panther fan, I loved it. I understand some people didn't like it because, Chadwick Boseman unfortunately wasn't in there, but I understand that he had died, months before, or I think months before or during the production of the movie. You know what I mean? And like I understand that people wanted to, see him in there, and it, they feel like it had kind of threw off the whole, Black Panther vibe. But understand they was doing the movie based off the comics. You know what I mean? If you know the comics, Shuri becomes Black Panther in the comics as well. You know what I mean? So like they was doing the movie based off the, the comics. You know what I mean? But no, go ahead.
Let me shed some light on this situation. This topic.
Mm-hmm.
If let's take the comics out of it for a second, because we both know the comics. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Not many people don't know the comics.
True.
So
yeah, I
that's
agree.
The problem lies.
I agree.
Let's take the comics out of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, it was a dope movie. We talk about Angela Bassett getting Best Supporting Actor,
definitely,
which she
man.
deserved. She was amazing.
Deserves it. I'm telling you, she deserves it.
How they even made it sure that Chadwick's death wasn't like, they didn't drag it to the point or talk about it to the point where it was overkill, and they still honored him.
They did.
They still honored him. The girl who played Sherry, amazing. She definitely stepped up top tier as an actor in every aspect. And mad people said it wouldn't happen, but she did step up.
She definitely did.
Serves
up flowers.
The dude who played Namor,
he was great. He was great.
Amazing. Like, there was so many aspects and great aspects. The girl who played Ironheart was amazing.
Yes.
Like, there was so much great acting and so many great scenes, and the fighting scenes, the scenery, the world building, it was amazing. Like, people leave that out and they can still say, oh, it wasn't that great of a movie. Now, granted, if I had to choose between the soundtrack of the first one and the second one, the first one definitely outbeats the second one.
Yeah, definitely, yeah, definitely. That was all TDE, bro. That was all TDE soundtrack, man.
Yeah, bro. That was straight Kendrick. Kendrick took over that, and he did that.
Telling you.
Nobody's topping that.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
But at the end of the day, as far as quality movie, that was it. And if we're going to talk about Marvel movies, they've pretty much been Phase 4. Before Phase 4 Marvel movies have been trash. They've been trash. The only good one was Shang-Chi. But after that, they were all trash. Maybe the Spider-Man movie was good, but most of the Marvel movies have been trash. Eternals was trash. I don't care what nobody says. Eternals was trash.
I'm 50-50 on the Eternals. I mean,
Eternals is garbage.
It was cool, but it was just some stuff I just did not understand.
We didn't need an Eternals movie, bro. That could have been explained on our outside voice. We didn't need an Eternals movie.
I agree.
Most of the Marvel shows that came on Disney Plus were trash. Let's keep it a buck. The best ones were the Falcon and
Falcon was good.
The Falcon one and the Loki one was the number one. The Loki one was the number one. Like, other than that, all the Marvel shows were trash.
Oh, okay.
They were garbage. Only one I'll pretty much give it to, other than that, is She-Hulk, because it was.
She-Hulk was cool. I like She-Hulk.
According to the comics, they did it right.
Okay. They did.
They did it right. That's the only reason why it gives it. If it was a regular thing, it would have been trash too.
Okay. All right.
It would.
All right.
What are you really comparing it to? You can only compare it to the first Black Panther movie, which is unfair to compare that because Chadwick was number one, was in it, and two, most sequels aren't always better than the first.
I'll give you that. That's
what
true.
Are you really comparing it to? Like you don't download because Chadwick. That's a dumb reason. The man died. What are you gonna do? Like, bro, like
true. No, I mean, but like
they did, according to the situation, they did better than the best they could.
They did, and you gotta give that. And it's like you gotta give them they props for that. You know what I mean? But like, not to spend too much time on it. You know what I mean? Like, we gonna say that for a different podcast episode. You know what I mean? But like let's get into this episode right now. You know what I mean? I was watching a poem on TikTok a couple months ago, and this poet named T Sleeveless gave a poem, and I thought it was excellent. You know what I mean? The delivery, how he read was excellent. You know what I mean? So what we're gonna do right now is play a snippet of the poem. Gonna play a little snippet of it. Hold on 1 second. And I believe that poem is called How to Teach a Boy to Cry, if I'm mistaken.
It's close to that. I don't know if it's actually exact, but it is close to that.
Okay. All right, here you go. Okay. Here you go.
That you're here. You really make a difference, yet the expectation is to constantly be displaying the strength and love that the world is hesitant in conveying. We're expected to have a thick skin but get judged if it turns to a hard shell. The first step in being a man is ignoring the hunger. Cause yes, boy, you're gonna be starving. Starved of attention, starved of affirmation, starved of love, starved of being told that you are enough. Step 2 in being a man is comfortability with replaceability. You are only as good as you are useful. You are only as valuable as you are needed by others. Should there ever come a day, boy, where you fail to provide everybody with a smiling face, then do not be surprised when they say all men do is take up space, and you are swiftly replaced. Step 3 in being a man is overcoming your fear of the fire, because almost everything you will ever try to build will go up in flames. Relationships, careers, hobbies, and yes, you are always to blame. Step 4 in being a man is understanding that by the time you finally get all the right answers, these questions will have already changed. You might achieve the strength of Herculean fiction, trying to balance the weight of all these contradictions. Be a man, they say. Definition unknown. Description keep changing. We men, so empty, so irritable, so this, so that. We get told what we are so much we've accepted that who we are ain't even up to us. The blame is always on us regardless. One guilty man's actions requires an innocent man's explanation. Otherwise, you're all guilty by gender association.
All right, that's all I'm gonna play on that. But but the whole poem is on YouTube. If you want to check it out, it's called T Sleeveless, and he's on this platform called Voices of Power. Shout out to them. Shout out to Philly, man. Shout out to Philly, like the whole East Coast, man, on the poetry scene. You know what I mean? But let's get into it, man. Okay, so I definitely like the poem. I like how it was delivered. You know what I mean? And one of the things that we were just talking about before we started was, you know, him reading the poem off of his phone. You know what I mean? And it's been a lot of, you know, talk about, you know what I mean, about how, like, if you're going to do poetry, you got to do it off of memorization. You know what I mean? But Cypher, let's get to that right quick. So poets or spoken word artists reading their pieces off of a piece of paper or phone, is that a no-no?
I think it depends on how people view poetry, really. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't believe it's taboo at all.
Right.
You know, I feel like if it's like I said this, and I've said this before, if you read a trash poem off your phone or memorize a trash poem, is it still trash? Does that change the dynamics of the poem?
Mm-hmm.
No. It's still the same poem.
Right.
So my thing is, if there's a deep message in a poem, whether you memorize it or you read it, if it's still spat in the same way, said in the same way, with the same emotion, all that, the performance is still the same.
Mm-hmm.
Is it still the same poem?
Mm.
Reading it off a phone don't make a poem trash.
I agree.
A trash poem makes a trash poem trash.
Right. I heard some too.
Yeah, and yes, we have. Now, I've heard some trash poems off the top. I've heard some garbage, and these are people who are supposed to be top tier poets.
Mm-hmm.
Like, your top tier poets, I don't even consistently write poetry the way I should, or do spoken word the way I should, and I feel like I could have killed you in like 5 seconds reading off a phone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sad. That's sad. But there are poetry snobs who actually believe that actually is more top tier than having a dope poem. Like, that makes no sense to me.
I agree with
you. If you're trash. It doesn't matter which. It is what it is.
I agree with you. You know what I mean? Like, for me, you know, I've seen, you know, because I watch a lot of poetry as of like, you know, you can tell, but, you know, I've seen poems read the poetry off of notebooks and on phones, and it's the same reaction. They get the same standing ovation and or claps if they had spit that poem off of the top or on memory. You know what I mean? So it's like, when it comes to like spoken word or like poetry, you can't really say someone is not really a poet or a spoken word artist because they read their poems off of a piece of paper and or a phone. You know what I mean? That's my opinion. You know what I mean? Some may say different, but I'm gonna say how I feel about it. You know what I mean? Craig, like, what do you feel?
I think what makes a poem trash is based on presentation. I think that
Agreed.
the reason people down reading poetry off of a phone or a notebook or whatever, they're down it because of the distraction that a person can have where when they're reading here or they want to read down here, which means that when it comes to projecting their piece or how they deliver their piece, it's definitely impacted in a sense because now the thought that should be emphasized doesn't land right because the person is reading the piece. Or let's say if a person was to give the piece from memory, you can always have a brain freeze, and all of a sudden, that one line that was supposed to be an important line, all of a sudden it's lost in translation, which means that momentarily you could lose the crowd, especially if you're giving a piece that's so dope that people are just waiting for more and want to hear more, and all of a sudden you just have that brain freeze that slows everything down. I think sometimes that can be a problem too. But whether or not a piece is trash, honestly, is based on delivery. And I've heard great pieces that were really simple, but because of how they delivered the piece, it was a powerful piece because the message is clear. And there's so many different things that I think people look at to judge whether or not a piece is trash or not. But one of the things I pay attention to is not only just clarity in your words and such, but is the message clear enough to where I know what your piece is saying? Because sometimes people like to give prefaces or what have you, or give little backstories before they start the piece. And that's cool and all, but you got to read the room. Because a lot of times, if you're giving this little backstory, the backstory could be a prelude to, oh, my piece may not be clear. My message may not be clear. Or some people like to do it to entertain. Or saying, oh, here's the motivation behind my piece. It's just about, it's little moving parts to me that help me determine whether or not a piece is trash or not.
Gotcha.
It's not just, and that's why I say delivery is the main thing, but it's also presentation. So presentation and delivery are so similar to each other that I'm actually thinking that there's a way to separate the two.
Let me ask y'all something.
Okay.
All right, this is for the whole reading off the phone and reading off the thing.
Okay.
Right?
All
right. This is not even having to do with spoken word, but it's the same concept. When you step behind a booth, right?
Yeah.
And you have your rhymes written on your phone, right?
Right.
You have to spit them in a certain way, a certain flow, a certain dynamic for it to be entertaining. How is that different from memorizing it?
Good question.
How is that different from memorizing it? Either way, it's getting into the music, and then when the music is done, you're still putting that same feeling, and you can hear it on the track. If that's not the feeling you put into it completely, then you gotta erase it and do that joint again.
True. I agree.
It's the same concept of whether you're memorizing it on stage and you're on that mic, or you're reading from the thing. If you're not given that same feeling, whether you're reading from a phone or memorizing on stage, it very well can be trash. It's the same exact poem. But it very well could be same exact message, but it very well could still be trash if not done in a certain way.
I agree with you.
My thing is, to me, there's no difference. It's the same concept.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. You know what I mean? Like when I watch videos of rappers, like when they preparing for their album and they start their verses or whatever, they read it, they may fumble. It's like they got to restart the verse all over again. They may go back, erase a line or two, and rewrite that same line over again. They ain't that same scheme over, that same punchline over. You know what I mean? But some of them read off paper. I know some rappers, and like we may know them too, who do their stuff off of top of their heads.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the ones who are writers, I mean, do we criticize them that they're not really not MCs because they writing pieces because they're writers and they don't freestyle?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? No, I mean, so it's like you can't come to poetry and say that exact same thing. That's not fair that you would say that.
Yeah, that's ridiculous because my thing is I give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
If you put a writer in a room with a freestyler, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you ask a freestyler to write something off the top, right? At least 70% of that, the time, compared to a writer, that freestyler is writing nonsense because he's freestyling to entertain. Whereas a writer, he's writing for depth. He's actually thinking about what he's putting on paper. Well, with a freestyle, he's not really thinking. He's just coming off the top.
I agree.
You get what I'm saying? The first thought that pops into his head, he's putting on paper.
I agree.
But a writer, he's thinking about what he writes. So my thing is, if you put two in the same room and they both perform their pieces, who's winning that crowd for real?
I agree with you. That's a good analogy.
Exactly. So
I love that analogy.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's
now,
go ahead.
Off of that, just by that alone, as far as I'm gonna give an example of somebody who has been known to come up with their songs without writing them down. And I give him credit, goes by the name of Lil Tunechi. Lil Wayne, we already know who that is.
Are you talking about?
Right?
Yeah.
Lil Wayne has been known to record songs without writing them down. He goes and he records and he puts it down in the booth. That's it. But when we hear these songs, he's doing these songs in probably like one or two takes, maybe one take and that's it. But it's the experience,
hold up though.
It's the skill, it's the ability. There's certain artists who can do that. I'm not saying,
but Wayne had to get to. But Wayne had to get to that point first.
He did. That's true. That's true. He did.
If you looked at the documentary, if anybody has seen Wayne's documentary,
I've seen it.
I'm just giving an example.
I've seen it.
He wrote all his rhymes.
I'm saying that,
memorized them, and then burnt the books.
Yep.
Burnt the book, so he still wrote that down.
The reason why I'm saying Lil Wayne is because what I'm trying to say is that came from experience and the ability of learning graphs and putting himself in situations where it's a forced memory, it's a forced thing that he's training himself off of. You know what I'm saying? Because no artist gets where they are without training. They don't get where they are without repetition. They don't get nowhere without that drive and wanting to be the best at what they do. Case in point, and I love using this guy as an example. I know it's not about rap or poetry, but a person who puts reps in and keeps it basic is Wardell Stephen Curry II. Just gonna talk about his reputation around repetition. He's not worrying about what kind of crossovers can I create. He's going off fundamentals. The fundamentals that he puts into his game are practiced and prepped. People come to games just to see his warm-up routine, not just the game anymore. Why? Because of the skill that he brings to the table, the experience that he's doing, the reps he's putting in to be the player that he is, a bona fide superstar. So I say that to say that when we talk about paper versus memory, the difference, I think, is we all got to start somewhere. But let's not forget how we got there.
Agreed.
How I got there as an artist. You know what I'm saying? Was because I started here reading from papers, reading from journals, reading from cell phones. Now I can spit these things off the top of my head. Or now when it comes to a topic, all I need is the topic, and when I hear it, I immediately go. Versus when I hear a topic, I need time to sit down and brainstorm, whatever. And sometimes that still happens. And to me, the best pieces I've ever written weren't necessarily thought of at the time. They were accidental pieces that I wrote.
Mm-hmm.
They were accidental pieces, and they were spontaneous at the time.
Right.
It was random. I wasn't thinking about it. I got into a mindset, and the thoughts came.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that happened. And that happens to me more often than it used to because I am an artist. I do this. I work hard at this. I have all three of us here on this podcast have a drive.
Mm-hmm.
And that drive pushes us to be who we are in our own element, in our own skin. So at the end of the day, criticism is criticism.
True.
I care, but I don't care. Because
Gotcha.
these are my thoughts. These are my feelings and what I'm putting into my pieces. Just like when, Cypher said that he had one intention with the Grand Rising album that then switched over because of what happened in his personal life, which then now I would say, and I don't want to speak too much for him on this because I'm not him. I'm not you, Cypher. But because it switched over, I would imagine that the events brought emotion that allowed you to pivot and be able to bring a different focus to the album where now the album has a different meaning, but it still has the same level of passion or energy that it did before all these chains of events took place, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, in a sense, you are definitely right. In fact, it just brings. I would say the only thing I would say is it probably brought more. It brought more of the energy that was needed. Because with me, when it comes to certain things, because I'm very critical of my stuff, when it comes to me doing music or projects, it's either gotta be better than the last or just as good. I'm not just gonna put stuff out.
I feel
like that's not how I do. It's either gotta be just as good as the last one or it's gotta be better.
I feel y'all.
It's never gonna be worse. So, it's like, if I don't feel like it's ready to be put out yet, if I still got my doubts, I'm gonna look for something more to add to it. And with all the events that's happened, it needed more. People needed to know the story. Needed to know more. There's more to the story. You needed to know that it was a struggle getting to the grand rising point, and still a struggle. So.
And I want to hold on to that thought. Syph, because that brings into my next question. Based on the poem that we heard, it's like, we get told all the time as men that, we don't get allowed to express ourselves. We don't get allowed to express our emotions. So my question to y'all is, how did these incorrect definitions of a man get started? You know what I'm saying? It's like how did all this happen?
Want to go first?
You sound like you want to.
Who want to go first?
We're gonna let you go first, man, because you could. We're gonna let you go. We're gonna let you go, bro.
I really want to hear Craig's perspective.
Okay.
I really want to hear Craig's perspective.
Seasoned with salt, please. Seasoned with salt.
I feel like Craig is itching, bro.
Seasoned with salt, please. Seasoned with salt.
I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be very real in this situation.
Which one you want? The Lowrys or the Audis? Which one you want?
I'm gonna be straight up with you. I'm gonna be very real in this situation. So however you take it, I'm gonna be very
direct though. I wasn't itching to go, but since that's what everyone on this panel believes, I'm just gonna follow along with it and go. No, so I feel like it's more historical than anything else. I think that, and I think in terms of what it was in times of slavery, I think that there was a form of dominance. But I'm not going to put that hat on today.
Okay.
I'm just going to say it from there. It's historical. And I think that as time went on, the households that people have grown up in, I think about how they often used to say children are to be seen and not heard.
I've heard that too.
I think in the same instance, men are to have feelings but not be able to express them.
Mm-hmm.
Men are to have emotions but not be able to express them. Or the only time that they want men to express them is if they're doing it in a violent manner.
Mm.
And that to me is just unfair because we're humans too. We cry, we bleed, we do all those different things. We suffer emotions. You know what I'm saying? With just say for instance, for example, with McFly, him losing his pops, or me losing my son. These are things that are emotional for us to probably talk about. I mean, at least for me it is. But just giving that example, you know what I'm saying? Because oftentimes when I would express my feelings in anything that I ever went through, I feel like when I lost my son, some people kind of felt like I was like my feelings weren't valid, and my tears or emotions were not valid because of how much time I spent with him or for some other reason. I worked a lot, but it doesn't mean that the things that happened when I was with him that I had fun with him doing was that it was to be validated.
Right.
I mean, I'm a father. I'm a father first, man. And, you know, and I just felt like at certain moments people kept trying to invalidate my feelings.
Okay.
So it just goes back to just, you know, like I said, history's past and what households were like, you know, from our parents to our grandparents to their parents and everyone else.
Definitely agree.
Because men have been told, hey, man, suck it up. This is what it is. You got to deal with it. It is what it is. And it's like it has spiraled over from households into relationships that we all carry forth today, where if we're trying to open up and express ourselves to our women, we don't get the same credit. We don't get the opportunity to be able to do it freely. Our feelings have to constantly be validated, proven to everyone else.
Right.
Because if it's our feelings and emotions, then it's basically bullcrap to everyone else. So then it causes us as men to seek other vices in order for us to deal with being shot down so much. Because a lot of people can't take that, man. A lot of men cannot take that for whatever reason. It like when you get shot down so many times, the emotional stress, things you go through, and it almost made me wonder about when Stephen Twitch boss died. Like his suicide.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
It was about stuff that he went through in his past, and it makes me want to know more about his past and what he went through. Was there any mental health that was impacted in some sort of way? Because that is a classic example of someone who carried all that pain inside.
And you never would have known.
Despite being married for 9 years, he still felt terrible.
Right.
The man put his phone in airplane mode, took an Uber to the hotel to off himself. But he left a suicide note. That's heavy, man. This is why that poem was needed.
Right.
To be heard and to be talked about, because it gives a message to little boys and men, of all walks of life.
Exactly.
It is okay to cry. It is okay to feel hurt. It's okay to feel emotion. Forget what society has said about manning up and sucking up and just dealing with it.
Right.
That's just my take on it. That's where I stand with it.
All right.
Can I go, please? Can I go? Sorry, because I know what you're gonna say. Can I please go?
You have no idea.
Because I no. I know you. Okay, let me. Okay, let me season this. You know what I mean?
There's no way to season this, bro. telling you, the reality is ugly.
You know what I mean? But
I did a job on mine, so y'all can't say nothing.
And we appreciate it though. We definitely appreciate it. You know what I mean? For me, I just felt like as like the times went on, you know what I mean, from what, you know, Soulful was just saying about, you know, our like grandparents times to now, I just think that, you know, of course men were looked at as the providers and protectors, but I think that's all. I think what that was all they were looked at, and I think, you know, other people just, you know, ran with that idea. So now when the man gets emotional and wants to express his emotions, now it seems as weak, because there's a time where men quote unquote didn't do that. You know what I mean? But men from those times till now, you look at them like some of them now, they're going through things because they were carrying around this trauma that they couldn't express. Now when they express it, now some of them may take a negative route to do so. And that's something that you don't want a man to do, or like any person to do. That means like carrying around that much pressure and or trauma. You know what I mean? It's like when you have a Pepsi or a soda or whatever, and you shake it up and you keep shaking it. When you open the top, that pressure come out. You know what I mean? So it's like being shook for so long, by society or whatever. You know what I mean? Pressure is like coming out. That trauma's coming out, and some men don't have a way to positively express those emotions. You know what I mean? I can say for myself that if it wasn't for me getting into like rap at an early age or poetry, I wouldn't be able to express my emotions at that time because I was an angry kid. Always picked on because I was big, my speech impediment, whatever. You know what I mean? And then I had the urgency to always want to fight somebody. And at my age, I mean, I'm not trying to fight nobody at my age now. You know what I'm saying? But not to say those emotions don't come up from time to time, but I have better learned how to control them and channel them into different things. You know what I mean? But if you take a young boy who's not taught that, who's not taught to express the emotions positively, they could get into negative things. You know what I mean? So I think that, with all the incorrect definitions of what a man is, when you just base it off of like providing and protecting, not saying those things are not important, but it's got to be more depth to a man than just those two aspects. Scythe, please.
Alright, so I'm just gonna piggyback over everything y'all just said.
I did the Salt Bae just in case I didn't know what I was doing.
I'm gonna piggyback, but I'm gonna keep it real. Society. I'm gonna begin with society. Going back. Men were the providers. It's always been that way from the past time. Providers. Mm-hmm. No matter what situation, a man is to provide, and his value is only as good as much as he can provide. Society alone, and I don't mean just including women, unless she respects you wholeheartedly, do not care about men's problems. They do not care. That is the harsh reality. Nobody cares. That is the harsh reality. Take it however you want it. That's why I said in my verse on New to Half on the album, a man shouldn't be in his feelings. He rather it's better to be a meme and to be a whole bunch of jokes. Nah, that's what it is. Think about it. When Will Smith was going through it with Jada, what did they do? They made him into a meme. When Tyrese Gibson was going through it with his baby mother, what did they do? When he was they made him a meme.
I remember. Yeah.
Every time a guy gets into his feelings, they play him. Why do you think the suicidal rate for guys is higher than ever?
I read something about that too.
The truth. That is the statistical truth.
I think I read something about that. That's higher.
The highest than ever. It's the highest than ever.
Especially now.
Nobody cares or talks about that. The second something is going on with a woman, even if she is dead wrong, that is the biggest thing on paper. And that's a fact.
But compared to
when a guy decides to express himself to the average woman, I'm gonna say the average woman because a woman of high quality is not gonna do this to you. They're gonna understand. And so the average woman, their reply is toxic masculinity. Who hurt you?
Like it's a joke or something, right?
All types of shaming things, but we will be dead serious. But it turns out to be a joke. So our suicidal rate is a joke to y'all. Our mental health is a joke to y'all. But then on the other side, you're like, well, why do you keep stuff to yourself? This is the reason why. Because when we try to say something, you say who hurt you, or you try to gaslight
it's a
us.
joke, right?
Y'all women love the guy. Y'all love to complain that we gaslight y'all. But the second we try to express ourselves, y'all be the first one gaslighting us. It is a well-known fact. Nobody really cares. They may try to act like they care when it happens, but nobody really cares. Let's be honest. Did anybody even think to check on this guy Twitch when he died? No. Nobody really checked on him. Nobody really. If they checked on him for real, this would have never happened. Nobody cared.
I think it's a shame too, bro. Like, it's like when you, as a man, you carry
married. Hold up. The man's been married for 9 years. How did nobody check on him to see if he was good?
I can't even answer that, but it's like
with a kid, nobody cares. If I'm down, my wife always checks up on me. Like, real talk. She really, like, if she sees like I'm off, if she even noticed the slight thing that I'm off, she checks in on me. If she sees that it's too much for me, she tries her best to pick up the slack. Most women will not do that for a man unless he can keep providing. We are not always allowed to have a moment. That is a fact. And that is the cruel truth of it all. That is the reality. Nobody cares.
And it's like when you walk around with this, with like someone's burden on you. You know what I mean? Like, when you walk around with someone's burden and you want to express it, but then like Cypher, like you had mentioned that, you know, when you like when you try to express that today, it's like a joke to like some people. That you know, like when a man expresses his emotions, and all of a sudden, you know what I mean, like it's a joke. You know what I mean? Like for me, like I remember when, you know, being 23, 24, and I wasn't working for like a good whole 3 years. You know what I mean? Just doing temp work that wasn't paying that much and wasn't that consistent. You know what I mean? But I was still out trying to find work, and I remember there was some people making fun of me for that. And then I remember when I tried to express myself and how I was feeling about that, I was shut down. I was told to like, you know, I was told, okay, go over it. It's a bunch of people who ain't working right now, but
man up, deal with it.
And ever since then, 23, 24, 25, it was like I just expressed myself through my poems. I couldn't express myself to people because I feared at that time being, you know, a joke or a meme. And I just feel like, you know, as a person, period, you shouldn't. As a person, period, I feel like if anybody's going through something and they go to a person who they trust the most to express themselves, and like for whatever reason that person just, you know, clowns them or like whatever, you know what I mean? It does something to you.
Nobody,
you know what I mean? You don't exactly. It makes you feel like you don't care. So it's like, why should I express myself to you if you already shown me that caring about how I feel doesn't matter to you? You know what I mean? So like now you have.
I take that stuff serious.
Just real quick, guys. You know, I wanted to share this here. According to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, here's some stats for y'all. Okay, suicide is the 12th leading cause of death in the U.S. And in 2020 alone, 45,989 people died by suicide. And so, out of that, in 2020 alone, there were 1.20 million suicide attempts. Now, when it comes to the males, in the rate of suicide, it says the rate of suicide is highest in middle-aged white men. I'm keeping it diverse here. I know.
No. I said men. Period.
No, I'm not saying you. I'm not saying that. I'm just keeping it diverse real quick for a second. It also says that in 2020, men died by suicide 3.88 times more than women. And it says also in 2020, firearms accounted for 52.8% of all suicide deaths.
Recording in progress.
93% of adults believed that suicide could have been prevented. So I'm dropping these stats because one thing that this world is about is stats when they're trying to prove their point. But see, stats don't tell the whole story.
True.
So going back to McFly's point about doing things to ourselves and not expressing them and things like that. I have been there so many times in my life. And it goes back to the point I was talking about earlier about me having to validate my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, relationships take the cake for that. Because communication is always a barrier in a lot of relationships today because men don't have the ability to express themselves without criticism and without doubt and without suspicion. And those are things that I feel make it so frustrating when it comes to people communicating with the opposite sex. When men communicate with their women, it's tough because of those different things. Because just because I don't always talk about it or say things like this or that doesn't mean I don't have feelings. It doesn't mean that I don't go through things too. And as soon as a man speaks up about his feelings, it's like he said, it's a joke. It becomes a meme. In our case, we're not the ones that are a walking meme. But at the same time, we have to be careful about what we make a joke and what we make a meme. Suppose
I agree.
If Tyrese did act on that meme or that joke and he goes and he committed suicide, let's just say if he did that, right? Because of what people have done, you know what I'm saying, or said to him or what people have done. I'll tell you right now, cyberbullying is something to watch for with teenagers and kids.
That is very true. That's on rampant.
Amen.
To
on rampant.
Cyberbullying leads to suicide. So we talk about suicide, fellas. It starts early. This is what I'm talking about. It starts early.
Yeah, I've been there before.
With some form of mental health being done through shaming and just bullying. So it's not just relationships, man. It's all over the place. And children grow from being in those situations. So some of them are not even making it to 21 because of cyberbullying taking the cake for suicides. So that number that I talked about the rate of suicides amongst men, if you were to research suicides amongst teenagers, I'm telling you the results would be very appalling.
I've read that too, and it's frightening.
Period.
To me, bro, it's like it's
young males.
It's frightening. So to have a young poet like T. Sleeveless express his poem, I'm just happy that he's like expressing it and not doing something else. You know what I mean? So I think that poem was like very needed.
But guess what?
And I've seen the comments on that poem, and I'm telling you, like he touched a lot of males with that poem.
But guess
you
what?
I mean?
Guess what?
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? Here's the reality.
Mm-hmm.
That poem was true, 100% true.
Right.
But let's see how society's gonna break down that poem. Let me tell you how society's gonna break down that poem. Again, with words like, "Who hurt you?"
Very well, so they can do that. Yeah.
That's so negative. This can't be true. Oh, women tend to feel worthless too. We didn't say that though. We didn't say your feelings can't be validated. That's not what we said. We're basically
I get what you're saying now. So okay, right.
Yeah, and this is how society always portrays things to put us against each
Cultural
other.
bias.
Yeah, it's the most. It is the worst nonsense. And the thing,
worst thing you can do, right?
Man, it's like, yo, it's better off to be quiet. And it angers me because I know if somebody had a real problem and they're telling me their problems, I'm going to sit there and listen and try to understand their problems instead of just say, yo, get over it and do all that. Because guess what? They need somebody to talk to, or else they might probably be a part of that statistic.
They just might. You just never know.
That you could have literally saved them from being part of that just by listening and understanding, comforting them, or trying to help them in the same way.
I
but
totally agree
instead,
with you.
You chose to be like, "Oh, it's a joke," and make fun of the dude. Now, dude commits suicide. Now it's like, "Oh, I wish he had came and talked to me." He did. You made fun of him.
And honestly, bro, I don't think people really like even like look at that far. And I think that's the issue because it's like you just don't know what people's mindset is. You know what I mean? I remember when I was just listening to a radio show. And they mentioned Tupac and the lyrics that he said, the first line he said in what the Hail Mary, he said, I'm not a killer, but don't push me. Those few words said a lot about who he was. You know what I mean? So like in that same sense, like you don't know who's gonna do something. So if they tell you their problem, but then you don't, but then you like get that, then you, I'm sorry, if you tell them, you know, this whole like man up speech or whoop de woo, you don't know what you're doing mentally to that person. You know what I mean? And I think I'm just glad now that like, you know, there's focus on and it's help for, you know, people with, you know, mental health. I'm glad that's really being, you know, more talked about and needs to be. You know what I mean? And of course, like, you know, with like an poem site, like you already know it's like gonna be somebody out there that's like negative, that's gonna make fun of it, going to start this like little like gender war, whatever. But like that's not what we're here for.
Exactly.
That's not what this podcast is for. We're here to like uplift and be positive. You know what I mean? So what my next question is, with all that stuff going on, what are ways that you control your emotions? What are things that you do to control your emotions and to express them positively?
Well, for one thing, I gotta shout out my loving God Jehovah. That's one.
As always,
you know, always. prayer to Him really gets me through a lot of difficult moments. I gotta shout out my wife. You know, she definitely keeps me grounded.
Shout out to Benita.
You know, she checks me. She checks me when I'm wilding at times. Like she
same here.
Grounded.
Same here.
And no doubt I be wilding at times. So she probably think I'm wilding right now. But she checks me and makes me a better head with the potential she knows I can be. She pushes me. And that's why I talked about it before about a high value woman. Mm-hmm. A high value woman is going to take you to the next level. She devalues yourself when she doesn't represent you in the proper way. You as a man already had the status. That's how you got her in the first place.
Right.
She needs to match that so she can be the best helper she can be. She devalues herself by not doing that. So, third, also and foremost, you know, my expression, my poetry, my music, you know, I get to put all my emotions, all my feelings that I don't necessarily always put out in person, out in music. Like, there's a lot of, like, in the album, there's like a lot of mental health situations. Knew the half. Help me. You know, there's a lot of serious situations. There's a lot of emotional situations. Me talking about my father. Sip to the legendary. You know, mirrors. You know, there's a lot of emotional moments I'm having. So this is me expressing myself how I really feel. It's like I told many people, this is the most expressive I've ever been in my entire life.
I agree.
You know,
yeah.
So it's kind of like, you know, it's very real to me. So I'm thankful that I'm actually able to be on a platform where I can do that. Where I have that talent where I can do that. Because if I didn't, well, let's just say I'd be an alcoholic.
I feel you, man. I feel you. I know for me, you know, and I said before, you know what I mean, that I got into poetry and on rapping to escape what I was going through, like the bullying, the taunting, everything else. You know what I mean? And it's something to just channel how you feel in the art form like poetry or spoken word and or rapping. You know what I mean? And I've you know, during this time I've touched so many people with my work. You know what I'm saying? Like people telling me like how, you know, talented I am, people telling me, man, like I understand what you're going through, I've been there. You know what I'm saying? And it's like when you're doing stuff like this, you don't know who you touching. You don't know who you are inspiring, because I maybe like the first time I've ever wrote a poem about my speech impairment, my stuttering, was like years ago, and that was like the very first time I talked about my speech impairment. You know what I'm saying? And then just seeing how so many people just telling me how, you know, they enjoy me expressing my feelings on that and how like they may know somebody who are suffering through that exact same thing, and how that really helped them, or they just like point to me as an example of someone who has gotten over and or who is managing this impediment, gives me great joy. You know what I mean? But just channeling this anger, this frustration into my art, you know what I'm saying? It gives me, so much comfort to do so.
That's
You know what I
real.
mean? Craig, what would you like to add?
So for me, how I handle mine is me being unafraid to be vulnerable with my social media friends, with everybody I know. I don't always say everything that I feel, but for me, it's my poetry, it's my prayers, it's me kind of just focusing more on myself and not really focusing on anybody else or anything else. I think with mental health, you have to be focused on yourself. You have to be the key. You have to be the attention that you give. It's got to be to yourself. You can't be anything for anybody until you take care of yourself.
I agree.
And it sounds basic, but it's one of those things where you have to do that. And the one thing I've always learned or always have been told as a person is take care of yourself. And I used to not always know, or I used to always believe what they meant was just by the basic things we do in life, like supporting ourselves and doing what we have to do to financially take care of things and do whatever. But taking care of yourself is also a mental thing. And
I agree with you.
One of the things that I've always felt that I have to do is exactly that. And being able to share that with somebody is always important. It's always a thing. And so, for me, I don't speak too much on that. But, for me, I would just say that, you have to have your vices and have your apples. And most importantly, be careful with who you share your innermost thoughts with. Be careful who you entrust with that kind of information. Because everyone will tell you that they'll be there for you to listen and to hear you out, things like that. But the truth of the matter is, well intentions don't mean genuine support.
I feel you.
And to
That's
me,
true.
I feel like that's something that you have to really watch for, because vulnerability will put you in a situation or on a path of you constantly opening it up to people who are not genuine about their support to you, but want to just know information so that they can either use it against you or take it back to others, or some sort of way to make a mockery of it. And in my opinion, it's like the expression goes, loose lips sink ships.
That's a fact.
I feel like that can happen in the case of mental health and how I approach it. A lot of times people may read my posts on Facebook and they may grow concerned because of me being vulnerable about it. Or they may have a different expression because my pieces are speaking to a space of where my head is at.
Right.
And that's why I use my pieces to write, because I'm throwing myself into that to let people know that, yes, mental health is real. These are my feelings, these are my emotions, and I'm putting it out there to elevate what I'm talking about. And it's not to elevate me. Pieces I talk about with my son, I mean, my thing is I talk about him more than I ever did in my pieces before.
Right.
And that's because naturally, that's my way of paying homage to his life and giving and breathing life into him, because he didn't die in vain. And my thing is that I'm gonna make sure people know that, and know that my son is a valuable kid. But like I said, with mental health, that's how I'm doing. And it allows me to be able to speak. In fact, this upcoming week, they're going to be doing a segment on me. Well, not a segment, but at my main job, they have what they call an Apply program, where each person kind of gets a chance to kind of tell their story about an experience they've had. And
That's
so
what's up.
I'm getting my story out about what happened to him as a way to get awareness out for him and be able to explain from a mental side of it how it has affected me, but more or less think about the focus of what it means to have support and to have family. For people to be able to be your family for a moment like that, you know. So for me, where there's not support, you can always find it somewhere, you know, and that's important. Where people want to mock your support or mock your feelings, rather, where there's support there, you know. So I just feel like, you know, you guys touched on a lot of things that I already do, but at the same time, just because I do those things, I'm measuring how effective is it.
Right.
Because we can have all these things that we do to help us when we're in these situations. But if it's not effective for me, then I have to hold myself responsible for that. I have to find a way to adjust that so that it's not me using it as a reason to spaz out.
Gotcha. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Of course, man. You know what I'm saying? Just one more thought right quick, man, before we call it quits. I want to bring this up right in the beginning of the show, but I mean, but you know, we was all talking, but it's this I want to say not karate, but like self-defense instructor called Jason Wilson. You know what I mean? His name is Jason Wilson, and I think he resides in Detroit, and he teaches a self-defense class to young men, and he uses that to teach young men how to express themselves, you know, emotionally. And one of the things like he was saying was that he himself used to be a angry person, you know what I mean, and not having a positive male figure there to help him control his emotions. It was until he got older and he met his wife that, you know, he started to learn how to control his how to express his emotions, rather. You know what I mean? Like I remember watching one video, and it was just this one kid, and they was punching the wooden blocks. One kid punched it, but he had hurt his hand doing it, and he started to cry. You know, he paused it, kneeled down on one knee, and asked the kid, "Why is he crying?" And the kid said, "Well, like I punched the wood thing, and it hurts." Then he said, "But you did it, regardless." And like the kid said, "Yeah, I did, but it was hard." And the kid started to cry. I'm gonna repeat to you what he said. He said, "It's okay to cry, son. I too, as a man, I cry. Now, I want you to understand this. When you go through life, there are going to be a lot of things that are going to upset you and make you cry. And it's going to take all our strength, all of our prayers, and our faith in God to get us through this." When he said that, I'm like, that's like, if I was a kid, I would hold on to that. Because y'all see how he did that? You know what I'm saying? Like, he told them it's okay to cry, but then he told them how to, like, you know, it's okay to cry, but we gotta try to get through life regardless of, well, not regardless, but just like, you know, you have to get through what you need to get through to find something greater, basically. You know what I'm saying? I feel like more of that type of teaching is needed for young men today. Because a lot of young men, even to this day, you know, may not have positive role models that they can, like, go to. Nobody that they can, like, learn from and how to express themselves. You know what I mean? So, like if you ever get a chance, look up Jason Wilson on YouTube, and he has, like, 2 books out. Was it Bell Cry and How to Cry Like a Man? You know what I mean? I felt like, but like what he did there in that video was just like, it was just like powerful. You know what I mean? And it's like sad that we don't see too much of it nowadays. You know what I mean? But before we close out, do we have any like closing statements?
Grand Rising, album by South of the Clock. Go get it.
Same closing statement, I guess.
Hey, I was gonna say that too. Yep.
Yeah, and yo, definitely get it. I definitely put some relatable songs on there. Definitely talks about mental health and all that stuff, and just pushing harder and getting through. Anybody could do it,
Facts.
So.
All right. Okay.
Oh yeah, one last thing too, man. New upcoming projects coming for me in the near future, man. I know we talked about it. I know some upcoming projects I do want to do. Still work on a possible EP. I have a hook for a song that I was instrumental I was listening to. I also was writing a verse. The brown sugar concept that I told y'all about, man. Having a brown sugar mindset over the actual D'Angelo Brown Sugar track.
Okay.
And
Oh, that's what's up. Okay.
I was writing lyrics to it, and so I'm not halfway done yet, but I'm almost done. I'm almost halfway done, because the type of vibe that I'm trying to put into it is combining the Brown Sugar movie with the actual song that D'Angelo did. So I'm creating a hip hop flavor to an R&B song that drives both of them together, to where if I'm putting it over a D'Angelo song, I may not have the rights to the song, but it could be dubbed as a brown sugar poetic song or
That's what's
freestyle,
up.
where I'm spitting a hot 16 over it.
That's what's up.
And just
I'm hold that thought, Craig. We need to talk about that a little deeper, because that could get very tricky. You gotta be careful with
Definitely, yeah. Definitely. Like when we get fans, we can talk about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Not in the theme of what the song is about. No. Let me set the record straight.
Okay, cool. Okay, right.
No, that's not even what I'm talking about. I'm legally
or music rights as well too.
Yeah, that's the thing. Legally, that could get very tricky.
I was just gonna say, yeah, definitely got to, yeah, definitely. You know what I mean?
Like, trust me, I've had experience with this.
Let me backpedal here.
Yep, I've heard stories too. Yeah.
Don't sue me.
Okay.
I would find a similar beat, but don't use the exact same one if you really want to make this joint go viral. That's the way I look at it.
Well,
true.
That's the thing. I'm not going to make this thing viral because of the fact of infringement and stuff like that. This might be something that I might only share with a small group of folks, like just on some. Hey, yo, I did this one freestyle to this beat, man. It's nothing serious. It's me having fun with it. Whatever.
Okay.
It's not.
Cool.
It's not going to be where I don't want no one sharing this. I have to trust people.
I got you.
Because of how crazy that gets. Because if somebody's like, "Oh man, this is crazy," I gotta tell. No, let's have an understanding before anything moves forward. It's just an idea, y'all.
You just gotta put. I don't own the rights to this music. You gotta put that in the disclaimer.
And that's exactly what my disclaimer would be. I'm all about that disclaimer. You know what I'm saying? So, but like I said, the EP, I'm definitely thinking about working on. I already have a concept to one of the songs. It's pretty dope. It's more of a I'm gonna do me, you do you. I don't care what you do. I only care what I do.
That's always a good simple
I
concept.
feel you. I mean,
that's one.
What was I gonna say?
And it just goes dope. But Fly sent me a few beats a couple weeks ago, and it's one of the beats that
that's what's
I
up.
know. I'll probably holler at you about it offline.
That's what's up. That's what's up. You know what I mean? Like before, I was shooting for next month for my project, but I'm gonna have to push it back again. But definitely, it's coming out. It's coming out this year. You know what I mean? My first project ever. The works my mind creates. It's gonna be 5 poems. I'm gonna construct. You know what I mean? Just like introduce myself out there to the world.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's gonna be on SoundCloud.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's the easier way to start it out.
Definitely.
Before you can get it up, on every platform.
Definitely. And like I said, man, I'm you know what I mean, like, critical about this project. Just, I gotta be all the way down in, which I am. You know what I'm saying? So like that's why I may be pushing the date back I had like towards the end of March. I might push it back because I need everything to be like I need every verse on that project to in my eyes be like satisfying to me.
It gotta be the best. Everything gotta be the best.
You know what I'm saying? But
it gotta be top tier.
Definitely, right. Most definitely.
No throw out song. No throw away songs or poems. You just gotta
definitely. Most definitely, man. You know, that's that's the plan. But thank you so much for listening to Vibes at the Table podcast. We're gonna hit y'all back next month with some more dope content episodes. This is Vibes, Pink Ain't James, Surfer McFly, Craig Super Red. See y'all later.